So yeah, this is the Vancouver, and it's kind of a work in progress that I've been working on for two to 3 years, I guess. It started out basically as a coop that would fit the Vancouver chicken bylaw, and that would basically use the most available lumber I could find. So it actually fits the Vancouver bylaw for this one, technically for 3 hens, and you can see I have only 3 hens. But I've modified it so that you can actually go out, they can go out into the back, and there's enough square footage to accommodate many more. The basic features of it are that it's made of these panels. It's made of 14 panels, I believe, that all just pack flat, and you can see behind you and over there, they're a bunch, a disassembled coop. What else? This is the hardware cloth that I find is the best for keeping raccoons and skunks and rats out. It's all the framing is cedar and siding is cedar, and I keep a tarp here just as removable, kind of a removable roof, so that the chickens can have a dry space all year round, and then in the summer I often take it off if it's nice out, although sometimes I leave it on for shade anyway. The chickens are, these are both Jersey Giants, the 2 black ones. That's a Brahma, the speckled black and white one with the feathered feet. Out in back you see Clover. There is my Leghorn. That's kind of like the commercial white egg layer, and she's very productive. And over along the side here is a sex link hen, and they're called sex links because when they're just hatched, they have a marking on them which determines their sex, and so they're very handy for if you're buying chicks for eggs. You already know if they're a male or female. And there's one more of them over in that corner. And this is a Wyandotte bantam hen. Her name is T-Boone, and she had a sister who died. They were quite a pair, but they're really interesting birds. They go broody often, and their eyes are just about as big as a normal sized chicken, but the rest of their body is very small, and they have a nice cute rounded tail.
And what features are inside the enclosed coop?
So inside the coop is pretty simple. I have a light here that I rigged up. It's on a timer. This is just a clean out door. Could use a cleaning, but I usually just put down scrap paper so I can just pull that out and compost it when I need to. And if you look, I don't know if you can get through that window with that, but I have a few perches. I have one that runs along here, and then because I added a few more hens, I put, it's actually the old back of a chair. It's kind of teeing up to it to increase their perch space, so they sleep up on that. And in here is the nest box, and they all share that. So I was joking earlier when I said I had 3 hens. I have 7, and 7 hens will all share a nest. I think when you get up to around 10, they start needing a second box. But even then, they might all share it and just pout until the next one is done, and they can go in and lay their eggs.
And is your Vancouver available for purchase?
And the Vancouver is available for purchase. I keep that there, just give them a little more privacy. Yeah, I sell them for $650, and I also do installation as an add-on. And I do all sorts of other add-ons if people want extra space or extra perch space, or if they have if they want the nest box on the other side. I do everything's pretty custom because I operate on such a small scale. And so far I've sold, I think, 21 coops, mostly in the greater Vancouver area, a few out on Vancouver Island, and I'll be mailing one to Manitoba apparently quite soon. So that's the lowdown, and they're also quite easy to assemble. As I said, they come in a series of panels, and when people buy them as a kit that they're going to install themselves, I make them with bolts and wing nuts here, and you can just snap them together like IKEA.
And how often do you clean the inside of the run?
It's been probably a month since I cleaned inside there.
Oh wow.
And as you can tell, like, it doesn't really smell at all.
No, there's no smell.
So I throw some hay in every once in a while, or straw, and that just kind of mixes up. It kind of turns into a really good base for compost. And I'll mix that in either with the vegetable scrap compost or whatever heap of compost I have going at any time. But yeah, with 7 hens, I've found that the smell really still isn't much of a problem.
Right. And then what about cleaning out inside the coop area? The indoor?
Same thing. Yeah, every once in a while I'll just pull that out on the piece of paper, or if I don't have that down, just use a flat shovel. But they don't really even walk there much. They go right up to their perches when they're in the coop, so they're either nesting or sleeping up on the perch, so on the roost.
And then what kind of precautions besides the mesh do you have against predators and pests?
That's the main precaution. The first day that I installed this here, I found that the raccoons up in that tree had visited, and they had tried to dig a little bit, so I just stuck some rocks around. They didn't come back after that, but I just figured I'd deter them a little bit. I keep the feed in hard plastic buckets, and then I keep their feed inside the coop. The door there on the other side of it is open during the day, so a rat, I suppose, could get in there, but they would. I haven't seen it happen yet, and the chickens, judging from how much they can pick on each other, if they want to, they would probably pick on a rat.
And then can you just talk a little bit about the feed that you have for them? Where
Sure.
you get it, how much it costs?
Yep. This feed here is, actually I should dig down because that got mixed with scratch, but this is organic layer mash, and you can see it's a mix of barley and certain legumes. I mixed in a little bit of their own eggshells crushed up because they're this is fortified, but they had been eating so many dandelions that they weren't getting enough calcium, so I gave them an extra boost. There's some corn in here too. So it's just an organic feed that's fortified with all the stuff they need, and I get that at Mark's Pet Stop just down on Commercial Drive. And the other thing that I give them in terms of stuff that I buy for them is chicken scratch, and that's, again, it's not fortified, but it's just grain, like whole grains, corn and grains, barley, that they like to eat. Here, throw some down. They've been eating all day, so they're probably not too hungry. Other stuff I feed them, if you look over there, you can see some like chunks of salmon. My neighbor Cliff had a bunch of frozen, like freezer burn salmon in his freezer, so they get all that kind of stuff all the time. This is comfrey that I just planted here. Some comfrey. Makes their eggs really yellow. They love dandelions. They love the stems. They'll just gobble them right down. So I do, kitchen scraps. I give them all that stuff to kind of cut down on the cost of feed. But feed itself is $20 for a 20 kilogram bag at Mark's. If you go out to the Fraser Valley, it's like $15, and it lasts a long, long time. Like for 7 hens, this will last a month and a half probably. So
do you have a rough estimate of the cost of that, what it costs to house a chicken for a year?
Oh, I'd have to do the math on it. It's so cheap. It's you know, if you're mixing in your own food scraps and stuff like that, one chicken might cost you $25 a year or so, if that. They're really quite self-sufficient, and they do a whole lot more good than they cost. That's for sure.
And where, if someone wants to actually endeavor into getting chickens, where might someone get information on how to keep them? Do you offer workshops?
I do offer workshops. I usually give a workshop once or twice in a season, and right now I have any scheduled. I'll be doing one at the Strathcona Community Center. I have to schedule a date for that. But I also do, like, at the car-free days around the city, often have a display, and I have a website, dailyeggs.com, where people often go and get information. Other than that, I usually just get people calling me up, and I'm happy to give them information on where to find chickens or find feed, or if they want to build their own coop, how to do that.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So what else that we haven't covered is necessary to know about raising chickens?
Let's see. Every city has its own bylaws. That's one thing that Vancouverites learned, because Vancouver put together quite a lengthy bylaw. And as you know, as you helped pass, the North Van is city and district will be passing their bylaw, hopefully. So there are setbacks from the property line that you have to be aware of. Number of hens, if your neighbor, especially if your neighbors are not keen on it, you want to make sure that you're in line with the number of hens, how far it is off the property line, and just things like that. You know, complying so that you don't get complaints, and keeping it kind of a clean, pest-free setting.
You might want to mention about the age of chicks.
Sure.
Is it 3 or 4 months, and then you'll know you don't have a rooster?
Yeah, so with the exception of chickens like the sex lynx hens, a lot of chickens are quite, they just look the same when they're chicks. They're just fluffy, cute chicks that have just hatched, and it takes until about 4 or 5, even 6 months to know if they're a chicken or a rooster. So yeah, so getting pullets, which are about 6-month-old hens, is a great way to not have to drive back and return your chicken for a hen, your rooster for a hen. A lot of places do that, but it can be a hassle. So, and you also end up having that one hectic morning where you wake up to crowing, and you get a call from the city saying we've gotten complaints about your rooster. So yeah, there are plenty of ways around that, and I think the best way is to get pullets, and then right off the bat you're getting eggs. You're seeing a return on your investment in your coop, and start eating. Trying to think what else. The water is another important part of the chicken's diet. I have to refill theirs, but I use these. It's called nipple style waters, and it's basically like a hamster water. They just peck at it, and I usually put a little bit of apple cider vinegar in their water, and it helps control their helps keep the probiotics, I guess you'd say, in their stomach or in their digestive system strong. It can help ward off parasites, and some people say it helps their egg production. I guess it would if parasites weren't eating their nutrients. So actually, I'm gonna keep this out and fill it up. They're confused at where their water went.
Yeah.
As you can see, for feeders, I just use these milk jugs. Because they can't throw their feet around, so I just cut a hole in the side, and then they have to stick their head in there. With a lot of feeders, the chickens just throw the feed everywhere, and it's a big mess. So these are easy to fill. I can put them anywhere I want. If the chickens are out in the yard, I can bring them out, and they keep the feed quite dry, even if it's raining out. Low tech solutions. No need to.
Recycling.
Yeah, no need to spend a lot of money on them. I like to keep the compost right next to the coop. The two go hand in hand. Yeah. This is where to find me. dailyeggs.com.